In a recent statement that has reignited debates over U.S. foreign policy, former President Donald Trump suggested that additional sanctions on Russia would be likely if the country refuses to negotiate a ceasefire in Ukraine.
The remarks, made during a campaign rally in early 2025, underscore the ongoing geopolitical tensions surrounding the Russia-Ukraine conflict and highlight the complex role the U.S. plays in shaping the outcome of the war. Trump's comments have drawn mixed reactions, with some praising his tough stance on Russia and others questioning the feasibility and impact of further sanctions. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications to stay updated.
Check the context of protracted conflict.
The Russia-Ukraine war, which began in 2014 with Russia's annexation of Crimea and escalated into a full-scale invasion in February 2022, has become one of the most significant geopolitical crises of the 21st century. Despite international condemnation and sweeping sanctions, Russia has continued its military campaign, leading to widespread destruction, loss of life, and a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. The U.S. and its allies have been at the forefront of efforts to support Ukraine, providing military aid, economic assistance, and diplomatic backing. Sanctions have been a key tool in this strategy, targeting Russia's financial system, energy sector, and political elite. However, the conflict has shown no signs of abating, raising questions about the effectiveness of current measures and the need for additional action. Now, Trump's proposal, sanctions as leverage. During his rally, Trump framed additional sanctions as a means of pressuring Russia to come to the negotiating table. If Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire, we have no choice but to hit them harder, he said.
Sanctions are a powerful tool, and we need to use them to force peace.
Trump's approach reflects his long-standing belief in using economic pressure as a diplomatic tool. During his presidency, he imposed sanctions on Russia in response to its interference in the 2016 U.S. election and its actions in Ukraine. However, his relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin has often been characterized as ambiguous, with critics accusing him of being too lenient on Moscow. The proposal for additional sanctions has been met with both support and skepticism. Proponents argue that increasing economic pressure could weaken Russia's ability to sustain its military operations and force Putin to reconsider his strategy. Critics, however, question whether further sanctions would have a meaningful impact, given Russia's resilience and its ability to adapt to economic restrictions.
Now, the impact of sanctions, a double-edged sword.
Sanctions have undoubtedly taken a toll on Russia's economy. The country's GDP has contracted, its currency has fluctuated, and its access to global markets has been severely restricted. However, Russia has also demonstrated a remarkable capacity to withstand economic pressure, thanks to its vast natural resources, strategic partnerships with countries like China and India, and efforts to develop self-sufficiency in key sectors. Moreover, sanctions have had unintended consequences, including rising energy prices and economic instability in Europe. The U.S. and its allies have had to balance the need to punish Russia with the potential fallout for their own economies and global markets.
Trump's call for additional sanctions raises questions about how far the U.S. is willing to go and whether the benefits would outweigh the costs.
Now, the path to peace, challenges and opportunities. While sanctions can be an effective tool for applying pressure, they are not a substitute for diplomacy.
Achieving a ceasefire in Ukraine will require negotiations, compromise, and a willingness to address the root causes of the conflict.
Trump's emphasis on sanctions as a means of forcing Russia to the negotiating table highlights the challenges of resolving a deeply entrenched and highly volatile conflict. One of the key obstacles to peace is the lack of trust between the parties involved.
Russia has repeatedly violated previous ceasefire agreements, while Ukraine is understandably reluctant to make concessions without guarantees of its sovereignty and security.
The U.S. and its allies will need to play a constructive role in facilitating dialogue and building confidence on both sides. Domestic and international reactions. Trump's comments have sparked a range of reactions both domestically and internationally. In the U.S., his supporters have applauded his tough stance on Russia, viewing it as a departure from what they perceive as the Biden administration's more cautious approach. Critics, however, have accused Trump of oversimplifying a complex issue and failing to provide a clear strategy for achieving peace.
Internationally, the response has been mixed.
European leaders who have borne the brunt of the economic fallout from sanctions have expressed cautious support for additional measures but emphasized the need for a coordinated approach. Meanwhile, Russia has dismissed Trump's remarks as empty threats, with Kremlin officials reiterating their commitment to achieving their objectives in Ukraine. In conclusion, a delicate balancing act. Trump's suggestion of additional sanctions on Russia reflects the ongoing challenges of addressing the Russia-Ukraine conflict. While economic pressure can be a powerful tool, it is not a panacea. Achieving a lasting peace will require a combination of diplomatic efforts, military support for Ukraine, and a willingness to engage in difficult negotiations.
As the conflict continues to evolve, the US and its allies must navigate a delicate balancing act, applying pressure on Russia while avoiding actions that could escalate the crisis or harm global stability. Trump's comments serve as a reminder of the high stakes involved and the need for a thoughtful and strategic approach to resolving one of the most pressing geopolitical challenges of our time.